So what a week it's been for the Alabama Crimson Tide on the recruiting trail, getting a massive win for one of the top players in the nation yesterday, four-star linebacker out the state of Georgia, Duke Johnson, getting a huge win in the transfer portal, former five-star offensive tackle Caden Proctor coming back, and fast forward to today, where Abdul Sanders Jr., four-star linebacker out the state of California who plays for Mater Dei, has committed to the Tide, and today we need to break this down, but before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I've got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you excited that Abdul Sanders commits to Alabama? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. But having said all that, let's dive right into this. And as always, who is Abdul Sanders Jr.? Well, per the 24/7 Sports Composite, Abdul Sanders Jr. comes in at 6'2", 210 pounds, and is a four-star linebacker, and he plays his high school football at Mater Dei in California. And one thing we talk about time and time again, and we will continue to do so, whenever you get a player from a Mater Dei, an IMG, a Duncanville, you know they have played quality opponents. Not only that, but they are used to this mantra, this mindset of iron sharpens iron. When you look at Mater Dei, they are always loaded with future college football players. So being able to get a guy out of that environment who's used to practicing against future college football players, who plays in the Trinity League against future college football players, it is always an exciting thing. In no way does it guarantee a smooth transition, but it certainly helps because he's used to a different level of competition than is the rest of high school football. And it certainly shows up on the tape. Whenever you turn on the huddle film for him, there's going to be a few things that instantly jump out. First and foremost, how disciplined he is. Sometimes when you're watching these high school guys who are hyper athletic, they can try and be a hero, play hero ball. But Abdul Sanders Jr. shows discipline beyond his years. And what I mean when I say that, he's interested in doing his job. And football is a beautiful game. If all 11 people do their job and do it successfully, they will have a successful outcome. But if one person diverges from the goal, that's where you can get in trouble. Abdul Sanders Jr. is someone who is conscious as to what his job is, what his assignment is, and that's what he's focused on. Doing his assignment to the best of his ability, and it showed time and time again. The first two plays on his huddle film are him getting interceptions, reading the quarterback perfectly, playing zone, and identifying where he wanted to go with the ball. That to me says a lot, especially in the modern era of college football, where one thing we know, these teams in college football nowadays, they're going to pass. If you're a linebacker, you're going to be dropping into coverage a healthy amount. So already displaying the the ability to successfully drop into coverage, that to me is always a big thing, especially with your linebackers because they will be asked to do so. Abdul Sanders Jr. also displays a level of physicality and an ability to diagnose when it's a run and he needs to attack that you have got to love. Whenever we look at this, Alabama is on an absolute heater on the recruiting trail. This is commit number 7 in the class of 2025. So many people out there were wondering, would Kalen DeBoer be able to recruit in the SEC? And my mindset was always this. Though we didn't have definitive answers whenever he was originally hired, I thought if you're super authentic, if you can foster positive relationships, you have a good chance of being successful in recruiting, not only in the SEC, but anywhere. Authenticity is king, and people can see through people who aren't authentic. Thus far, Kalen DeBoer has been supremely authentic. Actually, if you listen and ask around college football, that's one of the first adjectives you'll hear people use to describe him. And it shows on the recruiting trail. This week alone, Alabama has gotten 3 big wins, and there are several top prospects visiting the Crimson Tide. This is nothing new for Alabama, but this is different. It's under a different leader. Nick Saban was the master recruiter in all of college football, and naturally people were wondering what would happen in that aspect whenever he retired. Luckily for Alabama fans, early results are showing you're in good hands. Now, it is early, but like I said, this is a staff that is going up against schools that have year-long relationships with some of these prospects. They're going up against schools that have the luxury of continuity across the board. And while Alabama has continuity at some of the support staff, with Gillespie, with Roach, they don't have the level of continuity that most of your big programs around college football are afforded right now. So for them to be able to win these battles in such a short time proves that this staff is great at fostering positive relationships, and we know that's huge in recruiting. What does this mean for Alabama's recruiting class? Well, as I just alluded to, it puts them at number 7 in the nation, but more aptly, I always want to direct you whenever we're this early in recruiting to the average recruit rank. Because when you look at that, it really tells the whole story, as Alabama is one of the best recruiting classes in the nation whenever you look at that. And the reason why I would point your attention there is because, in my opinion, whenever you have so much inequality between the numbers in these recruiting classes, for instance, Alabama has 7 commits, Notre Dame, who's the number 1 class in the nation per the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings, they have 18 commits. Naturally, they're going to be ranked higher because they have more players eligible to add points for them. That's why you look at the average recruit rank, because that, in my opinion, tells a much more complete story at this point in the recruiting cycle. And when you do so, Alabama is continuing to recruit at an elite level. This class thus far has been very impressive, and honestly, Kalen DeBoer is exceeding early expectations on how he was able to recruit, especially given he's getting big defensive wins. When you look at some of these recent wins, there are monsters on the defensive side of the ball committing to Alabama, and you have guys who are playing high-level defensive football in high school that are interested in hearing this pitch. That was a major question even for Alabama fans, even for Alabama fans who thought Kalen DeBoer would be able to recruit successfully. Would he be able to attract the defensive talent? It made complete sense whenever Ryan Williams would want to play for Kalen DeBoer in this offense. Kalen DeBoer's offense put up video game numbers. But what about the defensive side of the ball? And early returns are showing defensive players also want to play under Kalen DeBoer and Coach Womack. This is awesome if you're an Alabama fan, but it begs the question, what comes next? As Alabama is playing host to several of the nation's top high school athletes, there are plenty of opportunities for Alabama to continue stacking wins. But the last thing I'll leave you with, one thing I've talked about time and time again, is if you can capitalize on hype, that can be an incredibly powerful thing. And right now, Alabama is capitalizing on the hype. Right now, across the country, a lot of prospects want to go see what's going on at Alabama because you just had the pro day go down. You're hearing scouts, you're hearing NFL coaches say, hey, the vibe in Alabama is different right now. It was always a great culture, great vibe, but it's more open. It's more friendly. It's just a different vibe down there right now. You're hearing the same sentiments echoed from these recruits saying Bama is still Bama, but it's a little bit different of a feel. The fear of missing out is a powerful thing, ladies and gentlemen, and do not underestimate its ability to permeate into college football and certainly permeate into recruiting, where these kids, they want to get to Tuscaloosa. They want to hear the pitch, and they want to see what all the hype is about, because right now, Kalen DeBoer and company are absolutely on fire on the recruiting trail, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see what comes next. But you all already know the drill. I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.